Across the Fence, a Vermont business is bottling up success with help from University of Vermont Extension. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. As a land-grant university, UVM provides research and education that benefit Vermonters. And at the heart of providing these benefits is UVM Extension. One of the many areas in which Extension supports our state's economic development is making sure the food produced in Vermont is safe. And when you combine food safety with helping a Vermont manufacturer grow and expand, well, that's just good business. Here's Across the Fence's Keith Silva with our story.
The line is humming at Vermont Bottling Company.
We manufacture upwards of 50,000 bottles a week, and we'll do that almost every single week of the year.
Vermont Bottling Company manufactures a range of beverage products, from cocktail mixes to ready-to-drink teas. With 22 employees, Vice President of Operations Andrew Bessie says the 6-year-old Williston-based business is in a growth mode.
This is a busy place. It's very common to come in and have a couple of full 18-wheel tractor trailers on the docks, a couple people work in the warehouse, loading, unloading, building orders for customers and clients, as well as a full production staff and sanitation staff as well.
The business's success has brought an increase in production and new clients.
We were being approached by a large new set of clients for development work and clients who wanted us to run some very unique recipes and beverage mixes. In order to manufacture these recipes and things safely, we like to have every single recipe brought to us evaluated by what's called a competent processing authority. This is somebody who has education and experience with how recipes are put together in a food-safe manner. And typically we were sending people to an outside institution for this evaluation, which takes time and money for our clients. So we reached out to the University of Vermont to see if somebody had that experience and was available to evaluate these recipes, and that's when we were introduced to Dr. Omar.
There are a lot of misconceptions about food. Okay, and I try to work out with the science and evidence-based science to support food safety. Okay.
In his role as a processing authority, Omar Yarsabal works with Bessie on food safety training for employees, makes sure Vermont Bottling Company is meeting food safety regulations, and assures the proper documentation is in place for federal inspectors.
It's coming along really good, Omar. We've got all of our process letters all lined up.
It's safe to say Bessie is obsessed with food safety, and he better be.
Food safety isn't just important, it's everything. We take food safety here extraordinarily seriously. It's our first thought in their day, it's our last thought in their day, and it's constantly on our mind every minute of every day that we're producing people's foods here. Without food safety, we do not have a viable business at all here.
Yarsabal's role as a processing authority is essential to Vermont Bottling Company, but it's the relationship he and Bessie have built that goes beyond the work itself.
It is great working with Andrew because he listens. Sometimes you have to understand that there are a lot of limitations to do things in an ideal world. It comes from, monetary limitations, equipment limitations, facilities, personnel. So he's willing to work out different alternatives and discuss them. I always find also that I have always found that the personnel working here are very serious, are dedicated, and they care about it.
Without access to expertise such as Dr. Omar, certain circumstances arise within a food manufacturing facility. Whereas we have generalized training, we don't have very deep and very exact specialized training in a food science setting or specific knowledge, or within the range of regulations that we must meet with the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Dr. Omar brings a very deep understanding of the rules, the regulations, and the fundamental science of what contributes to the food safety in an environment like this.
By working with USABO, Bessie ensures the food safety side of this business is secure and up to code, which in turn has a strong influence on the bottom line.
I would conservatively say that the impact is in tens of thousands of dollars a year to our business by either being able to continue producing or avoidance of consultation fees or simply the delays of having to send things out to be evaluated and have an answer come back in a timely amount of fashion. It allows us to continue to grow our business. It allows us to continue to attract new clients, new business, to employ more Vermonters. It allows us to look at upgrading our facilities. It allows us to look at bringing in new equipment. If we were forced to spend money on these other things, or we had more downtime because we had to evaluate a situation, we wouldn't be able to progress as far as we had in our business.
As a land-grant university, UVM is charged with providing the people of Vermont with the knowledge base and unbiased research from its faculty and staff. This service is what matters most to USABO.
At the end of the day, I'm not a person paid by the company. So I want them to develop skills to, go further and have less attachment to somebody like me. And therefore it becomes more like very unique kind of questions, like, oh, this is something new we haven't faced. Can you help? Really, it's a networking issue.
For me, it was logical to reach out to UVM Extension, but I had never known the depth and the breadth of knowledge, experience, and services that Extension could offer. This partnership, it has so much potential, not only for Vermont Bottling Company, but also hopefully the Vermont Bottling Company can give something back to the Extension as well. We're open to partnerships, whereas if UVM Extension or Dr. Omar wants to do testing or collect data or experimentation, we can offer those types of things by running hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands units taking data.
To keep the line moving at Vermont Bottling Company requires dedication, collaboration, and a strong connection between Vermonters and UVM. In Williston, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Well, thank you, Keith. The Vermont Bottling Company is certified by the Global Food Safety Initiative, which represents the highest standards in food packing and quality control. Well, joining me now is UVM Extension's Associate Dean and Director of Faculty and Programs, Dan Lerner. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you. Good morning.
Quite a success story, not only for the bottling company, but also for UVM Extension.
It's a really good story. Omar took me on a tour of the facility earlier this fall, and I was really happy to see the work that we were doing there because there's a few different things that come together. It's all about food safety, as you heard Andy say in the video. We want to make sure that people are getting food-safe foods and drinks into their homes. But at the same time, Omar's a remarkable resource. He's a microbiologist who, as he said in the story, isn't paid by the company, so he can give unbiased, objective, scientific information that they need to grow the business. And when their business is successful, we all benefit. That's jobs, it's tax revenue, and of course, safe foods.
Now, on a broader level of economic development, how much money does Extension invest across the state every year?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So most viewers may know that our base funding comes from tax money at the federal and state level. But people may not know that our faculty and our staff also have a lot of success at landing competitive grants, over $10 million of grants and contracts just in 2016. Most of that comes from the USDA, but there's also significant grants from the state of Vermont, from the Agency of Ag, from the Agency of Natural Resources, and from some other sources. And those monies help us do the programming we do that drives right into communities and can help push forward economic development.
Are there other examples of Extension supporting the economic development of our food sector?
There's a lot. I brought a few with me to share with you. One is a place called Wilcox Ice Cream in Bennington, where Chris Callahan, he's our ag engineer, has helped that company take the next step forward. They've been in business since the 1920s, sixth generation. And they were developing a new production facility, a very, very large cooler. And there's a lot of knowledge that has to go into that. So Extension, through Chris, helped them do the math to figure out what was necessary for cooling an enormous walk-in freezer and help them sort out the different options for all the vendors you need to build a piece of equipment like that, from the walls of the freezer to the refrigerant that's used to the controls that they use. And so that actually will help the company be more successful and again, employ more people as time goes on. That's a recent example. Over the past few years, though, we've helped out in a few other places. One was Pete's Greens, which is in Craftsbury, where again, Chris worked with the owner there to develop remote monitoring systems on the greenhouse, and that helps control for temperature and humidity so that the produce that goes in stays fresher longer. And we've worked with many other greenhouses since then on similar things. And I guess the last I'd mention is a demonstration project we did down in the Rutland area late in 2015 at the Vermont Farmers Food Center, and that had to do with alternative energy for a boiler. And so helping that organization see the value in moving away from fossil fuels to heat their facility and instead using biomass options for that. And that's another place in which our folks can help people develop and grow the businesses and ultimately the public good.
Because without using these resources, if a business makes a mistake, it can be very costly.
Very costly. So one of the things we're able to help people do is test out ideas, try ideas, but we also bring science, objective science, with us that are going to guard against some of those mistakes.
Now tell us too about Extension's work in maple.
Well, we've done a lot of work in maple for a lot of years.
Yes.
It's one of Vermont's most cherished ag products. We have a maple specialist named Mark Esselhard and a faculty member named George Cook who work specifically in the maple areas. And they're connected with UVM's resources at the Proctor Maple Research Center in Underhill, which is a remarkable place. And so we're able to take the research that's done on maple production there and put it into the hands of people like George and Mark who bring it out to producers and help them improve the production of maple. So we've got somewhere between 50 and 100,000 active acres of sugarbush in the state. It's a pretty broad range. That's a hard number to count. But what we can count easily is production of maple. So 15 years ago, maple producers in Vermont were putting out about 500,000 gallons. In 2016, that figure is 1.99 million gallons, and that represents a little over $300 million in sales. So we're definitely very invested in helping that part of the ag sector grow and do its job.
Let's talk a little bit about farming and Extension's connection there.
Sure. Well, we have a program called Farm Viability, which sits under a larger umbrella called Agricultural Business, and Mark Cannella is our lead faculty member in that area, and he has a staff of people who work with him to go farm to farm to farm for a variety of reasons. So an individual farm might need help transferring all or part of the farm from one generation to the next, or they might need business analysis before they make big decisions about purchasing large amounts of equipment or making substantial investments. And we can help them evaluate the quality of that decision, and ultimately the decision is theirs, but we'll help them to do that. We also run budgeting clinics, and all of that happens through Mark and his group.
Which is critical. Other examples of Extension supporting the development of alternative energies?
Well, we've got quite a few of those. Anytime we can help somebody to displace their use of fossil fuels, it's probably a good idea for the environment. But none of that is as meaningful as it could be if the cost doesn't work out. So we have to help people balance those two things. So Sid Bosworth is an agronomist working with UVM Extension, and he's done some work in the last handful of years over taking grass and turning that into energy. They turn that into little burnable pucks, and finding parts of a field that aren't as productive as they might be, pulling grass from those areas and turning that into something that can be burned. There's also the Farm Fresh Fuel project, which Heather Darby, who's our agronomist in the St. Albans area, has worked on over years, and that's around sunflowers, helping farmers see the value in developing sunflowers for the purpose of pulling the seeds from the flowers, any seeds the birds don't get, and pressing that into oil that can then be used as fuel. And of course, we've got a variety of things that have gone on with solar as well over the years.
And I mean, there's a direct connection between the work that kind of work and economic development.
There is, because every time we show an individual farm or producer how to be more efficient, at the same time protecting the environment, then you're seeing a stronger business result as an example. And stronger businesses put more taxes into the state coffers, stronger businesses employ more people. And that's very, very important to Vermont.
Okay, well, if folks want more information on the programs and the research that UVM Extension provides to Vermonters, they can check out the website that we're going to put up on the screen. It's www.uvm.edu/extension. Dan, thanks so much for joining us today and talking about this.
Sure, thanks, Judy.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.